A single road costing more than a small nation's entire annual budget sits absolutely empty. The concept of a $100 billion highway to nowhere is truly mind boggling. It represents a massive misallocation of resources, a project so grand and so flawed that it defies common sense. Imagine construction beginning over 2 decades ago in 1998. Initial estimates projected a cost of just $10 billion for a 600-mile stretch. But those numbers spiraled quickly. By 2005, the cost had nearly doubled to $18 billion. 10 years later, in 2015, the figure ballooned past 50 billion. And now, in the present day, it stands at a staggering $100 billion. This superhighway was envisioned with 8 lanes in each direction, a total of 16 lanes. It was meant to connect a booming industrial zone to a major port city 400 miles away. Local officials touted it as an economic marvel, promising tens of thousands of new jobs. They said over 200,000 vehicles would use it every single day. They predicted a massive surge in trade and a significant boost to the region's gross domestic product, perhaps by as much as 3% annually. The reality is vastly different. Today, fewer than 100 vehicles travel this immense road on an average day. That is less than 1/5 of 1% of the projected traffic. Many sections remain completely unused. Some parts are nothing more than a few scattered asphalt patches across barren lands. The initial 3 phases were scheduled for completion by 2010, but only 1.5 phases were ever partially finished. 2 major bridges meant to span wide rivers are half-built, their steel skeletons rusting in the sun. Hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on a complex interchange system that leads to nothing but dusty fields. Environmental impact was significant. Over 7,000 acres of protected wetlands and forests were cleared in the initial stages alone. Rare bird habitats were destroyed. Local communities were displaced. Nearly 1,500 homes were demolished. To make way for the right-of-way, 5 small towns were bypassed entirely, their economies decimated. Businesses closed down. People moved away. The reasons for this monumental failure are complex and interconnected. Corruption played a huge role. Contracts were awarded to companies with questionable track records. Many companies had close ties to government officials. Bids were often inflated by as much as 30% above market value. Raw materials like concrete and steel were purchased at exorbitant prices. Quality control was almost non-existent. Engineers warned of structural deficiencies in early phases. These warnings were ignored. Political instability also contributed. 3 different presidential administrations oversaw parts of this project. Each new leader had slightly different priorities. Funding streams were erratic. Sometimes billions were allocated, other times budgets were slashed dramatically for years. Design changes happened constantly. What started as a direct route was altered dozens of times to accommodate various political interests or landowner demands. A proposed spur line to an oil refinery that never materialized consumed another $8 billion. The original economic forecasts were overly optimistic. The industrial zone it was supposed to serve never fully developed. Key factories that were promised simply never opened. International trade agreements shifted. The port city experienced a downturn. Demand for cargo transport simply evaporated. There was no longer a compelling economic reason for such a massive highway. Many critics pointed out the flaws early on. University studies projected low traffic volumes. Independent analysts questioned the financial viability. Their concerns were dismissed by government officials. Public outcry was loud at times. Protests occurred in 2003 and 2009 when land appropriations intensified. But the project continued regardless. The national debt increased by several billion dollars just for this one single undertaking. Taxpayers are now burdened with the ongoing maintenance costs for a road that no one uses. Even without heavy traffic, the asphalt degrades, the bridges require inspection, the signage needs upkeep. These costs add up to several $100 million every single year. The maintenance budget for the unused highway for 2023 alone was $325 million. This money could have funded hundreds of new schools or dozens of hospitals. It could have provided clean water for millions of people. Instead, it is poured into a concrete monument to hubris and poor planning. The initial jobs promised never materialized in the long term. While thousands worked during peak construction, most were temporary roles, the local economy never saw the predicted boost. Instead, it suffered from environmental damage and disrupted communities. The land value along the proposed route plummeted in many areas because of the uncertainty and the lack of development. Farmers lost their land for minimal compensation. Small businesses along the old routes suffered as traffic was diverted to the new non-existent highway. The overall return on investment for this project is a catastrophic negative value. It stands as a stark warning. Mega projects require meticulous planning, careful oversight, and genuine economic justification. Without these elements, even the most ambitious endeavors can become financial black holes. $100 billion could transform an entire nation. It could eradicate poverty. It could revolutionize healthcare. Instead, in this instance, it created a ghost road, a testament to human error on an epic scale. The concrete stretches for miles through silent landscapes, a monument to what could have been and what absolutely should not have been. It is a $100 billion question mark stretching across the land, a constant reminder of incredible waste. The project was meant to span a total of 600 miles. Only 300 miles have been partially paved. That means 50% of the planned length is still just dirt. The remaining 300 miles are untouched. The land for those remaining miles was acquired through eminent domain over a decade ago. It now lies fallow and unproductive. The legal battles over compensation for that land continue to this very day. Many families still seek justice for their lost properties. 5,000 individual lawsuits remain unresolved in various courts. The total financial claims from these lawsuits could add billions more to the already astronomical cost. The dream of a bustling 8-lane artery turned into an expensive nightmare.